info@smallbizpro.net or call 626-533-1186.
FedEx has one for $25,000. And we are back. Welcome back to the Business Zone with Crystal and Gilbert. I am Crystal, and Gilbert is in Las Vegas right now doing his Gilbert Razzle Dazzle. He actually has an opportunity. It's with the Las Vegas Chamber of Commerce, and he, for the next for a while, he is going to be doing workshops there for them every 2 weeks. And Vegas has a very unique position right now on making sure that they're supporting their small business owners and that they're getting all the resources in order to make them better business owners. So I know when I was there not long ago, a couple months ago, I don't know if you've been to Vegas, everybody been to Vegas. So right next to the Flamingo, there was that little court area. It was like, it's one of the hotels, actually. So they've cleaned it out and they've set it up so small business owners are doing a co-op share. Oh. And so all these great little dress shops, little jewelry shops.
So it's right on the strip.
Right on the strip. So when you walk in, it's between the two. It's a new hotel. I can't remember what it is, but the Flamingo is on this side of it. And then it was the Barbary Coast, I think. Mm. So in between that, when they moved, they got rid of that one. So it's just in between the two of those. Wow. And so they actually help them get into these spaces, and it's a co-op type of environment, which is fantastic. I've spoken to some people about helping our small business. If we're in a cooperative type environment, then we're all sharing the expenses of the rent and the utilities and so forth, and it would be a lot easier on our small business owners.
Excuse me, it's like an incubator? Is that what you're saying?
It's not an These are not incubators. These are just businesses. They gave them support. I assume it's coming through their chambers and their SBAs in that area, but they saw the need. You know, in Vegas, you have the big hotels and everything, but they didn't pay much attention to the small business owner. So now that's their focus, is because that's more revenue. That's revenue for them as well. It probably came as a result of the recession, because a lot of the hotels were driven by tourists, and tourists didn't have any money. So they had to work with the people within and within their communities and help them build small business, because small business is really what spurs on economy. So I'm going to ask both of you this question, but Alisha, I'm going to start with you. So do we think that women reach their full potential?
No. We wouldn't need the Bella Network if they did. No. And you know what? So many times we, as a community, say that it's based on, not having access to capital or not having information or knowledge. But, you know that at least within the Black community, Black women are some of the most educated women.
Yeah.
And they're opening up small businesses left and right. But there was a study that was done by American Express that said that it wasn't the knowledge that they were missing. Sometimes it just comes down to the fact that they won't partner or that they're not partnering. And there was a study that showed that businesses, no matter who opens them, men or women, if they have 3 to 5, at least 3 partners that help in the whole process of startup, they have a 80% chance of being a successful business and making a profit. And so when you look at women, most women, doesn't matter the culture, they are usually a one-woman show.
Generally are. And I've had so many people when I've coached in the past that they're out there doing their own thing, and I'll suggest them, what about a partner? And they're like, oh, I can't trust anybody with my money or with my concept or with my idea. And when I started my own business 20 years ago or 30 years ago, Mitchell Business Solution is technically a one-man show. But however, I have collaborative partners because I recognize that I can reach and create. My whole goal is to make an impact. And I can't make an impact just on my own. So I collaborate with other organizations, and it just works. Everything that I do, yes, Candace, partnerships can be a challenge. You do what is it? Challenge you due to emotional decisions. It's picking the right partner.
And that's it. Okay, so there's where you hit it, the nail on the head, right?
Right.
We as women will pick people that we feel comfortable with
Right.
socially.
Yes.
And that doesn't mean that we know who they are professionally.
Right.
And so what I tell people is you have to know they're professional, who they are professionally. How do they show up in a professional setting before you can partner with them? And so you can't just say, okay, she's my girlfriend. We have fun together. Now let's go into business with each other. Because is she the same girlfriend that drinks a lot? Is she the same girlfriend who doesn't like to get up before 12? Is she the same girlfriend who's not driven and won't stay till it's done? Is she the same girlfriend who won't focus in because her boyfriend called? You know, you have to think about those things when you're choosing a partner. And, you know, I tell people all the time, when you are in school with someone and you see how they study,
Yes.
that's seeing somebody professionally. That's saying, oh, that person has a determination to read the book and to take the notes and to be driven to stay up and study. But if you don't get to experience that, you know, because as Black people, when we go to corporate America, sometimes I'm the only person that looks like me that I see throughout the day. And so then I don't get to make those kind of judgment assessments on others.
Right.
And so on, you know, this is that East Coast, West Coast thing. On the East Coast, they go to school together. You have HBCUs.
Yes.
So we get to see each other in a, you know, professional-like setting because it's a school setting. And then you get to choose partners based upon knowing them through how they did in school.
Exactly, and their work ethic.
And their work ethic.
So that's very important. And I think you've actually said that to us in the beginning about the partnership, because my take on it is that a partnership in business is like a partnership in marriage. So just like you choose your marriage partner, that could be devastating as well if you're not.
If you go after cute.
If you go
cute
after
only.
cute only, right? Or they dress nice, or they smell good, but then when you actually have to get down into the nitty gritty, then that's a different look, right? And I have a business partner. We both are. I'm in the financial business coaching industry and she's in HR and operations, and we complement each other very well. She is anal, which works when you're talking about operations and so forth. So we've always done well. And then I've had other partners, my partner with Recycling Black Dollars. Now we had to adjust to one another because we're kind of like old school, new school. So now we're working where we respect each other's skill sets and we know where our wheelhouse, you know, where all our skills are. I stay in my wheelhouse, she stays in her wheelhouse, and we come together to make Recycling Black Dollars what it is. And I think that's what you have to do. Shore me up where I'm weak or where that's not my interest, but it will make our program or our business that much more powerful.
Sometimes it's just a matter of staying in your lane.
Yes, sometimes you got to stay in
That's what I've learned from
Right.
my various business partnerships over the years.
But you got to stay in your lane in your marriage, right? So supposed to anyway. Because sometimes when people cross
I'm the
over,
driver.
You listen to that.
I'm old school. I'm from the old school.
What did I
I'm the
say?
man. I'm the driver.
What
But
did
I do
say
respect
at the top
my
of the
wife's
show,
opinion.
Alisha? The neck that
The
turns
neck,
the head.
yeah, that's right. Like, let's see how far he gets if she stops turning.
I have learned that if it's an area that I've learned from experience, certain areas I know my wife she's like dealing with people, patience. Other areas I know now after 14 years, you know, just let her do her thing or give her the opportunity at least to drive the car, so to speak. But I totally agree.
Yeah, I think it's necessary when you're choosing a partner, and a lot of people go into it not, like you said, they're basing it on, oh, she's my best friend and we hang out. And
he's handsome, she's beautiful.
Right, exactly. But we the core, the meat of who that person is. Now, and then it's interesting, again, we're back to human beings,
behavior,
right?
yeah.
The human behaviors, right? So you know when she goes out, she parties success. You know that she does inappropriate things when she's out or he's out.
How old is this person now?
No, I'm just talking hypothetically.
Yeah, but age doesn't have.
There's
I've
nothing
seen
to do.
some old people be inappropriate.
Right,
yes.
exactly.
Yeah.
And then when I had a client, hey Eunice, hey Faith, I had a client, we did a mentorship, a program with another colleague that I worked with. And so what what we did, and I still believe this, that if we keep a person within our midst for at least 6 months, we can really activate change and really get them to grow their businesses and actually activate those businesses. So there was 2 young ladies in a class of ours, and so the class was set up so we do theory and then we sit down one-on-one with them to help them. We spent more time counseling them on the fact that these 2 people just should not have been partners.
Right.
They couldn't get any work done because, well, she did this and she did this. And, whoa, what are you guys doing? So finally, our recommendation was, you guys need to split.
Yeah.
You need to go your separate ways.
But you know what? So in corporate America, that happens a lot, and that was talked about for our women's conference on that Sunday session with the men.
Okay, yeah.
We talked, and one of the men brought up the fact that he had 2 women working in his group, and the other men just stood back and watched them fight each other, in the way of they were each other's competition, as though the men didn't even matter.
Right.
And so it's that sense of, even like sometimes with minorities, that there's only room for one.
Right.
So if I get something or if you get something, that's withholding something from me. And so there's this battle of will, which one of us can last a longer, versus seeing it as we can both be successful. Mm-hmm. We can both have opportunity. We both have knowledge and skills that we bring to the table. Let's help and leverage each other.
Exactly, and that's what's important. And I think even as a culture, when we learn to do that, then as she said, we can make sure our whole culture does that, because that's some of the reasons that we don't collaborate, because everybody's holding everything
there's like this limit to, success,
right.
limit to money.
To money.
You need to travel. You'll see there's a whole lot of money and success in the world.
Right,
exactly. But something that's interesting on top of what you're saying, other communities, they don't always agree, they don't always get along, but they can still bridge that divide or that gap and work together.
Because they want to make money.
And recycle those dollars.
Remember,
18 times.
Yeah, because it's about the money. It's about the money, right? It's not emotional.
Now, it's about who does that 18 times? I'm not
18 times. Right. 18 times.
Names,
right,
but,
exactly.
It's
I was watching a program last night. It's a new show. Candace, there is enough for everyone. You're absolutely right. I mean, we alone spend $1.2 trillion. Man, if we just
kept it here.
Yeah, we just kept that.
Just give it to me.
Right, exactly.
Well, our goal is what?
I'll tell 10% you how to spend it.
In the next 5 years. We're going to do it.
Yeah,
you know what? I say if we all took that $1.3 trillion and put it towards one thing, mm-hmm. we would have a million things because we would have to then start to have to sustain that one thing. If we took it and focused in on one business, that one business would have employees and have executives, and then it would have to buy products. So then we could focus in on another business to supply that. I mean, if we just focused in and became driven and determined on ourselves, mm-hmm. then we could change the whole concept behind how we're respected in or outside of our community. Right.
And actually, hey, Natalie, welcome. Actually, this is a time for that, because mm-hmm. there's so many other people that are in the target. In the bullseye, and it's not us at the present moment. We're on the sidelines to be moved into bullseye, but right now there's others. So this is our time to gun. So organizations like the Bella Network. I'm working with some other groups that we're working on some financial money access to capital. I know we're going to talk about that as well. There's groups of us, like Natalie. She works that whole, and some other young women that are in our group that do the whole social media. Mm-hmm. But if we took and helped each other, taking all of our assets and all of our skill sets and used it to help focus in, it's not going to be our whole entire population, but wherever you fit in and wherever your area of expertise is, we work that area. We could actually change, and I think Dr. Anderson says this, Claude Anderson. Yes. He says we can make a change in 5 years that would be revolutionary in our community. So if those of us that work with children, then we helping. And this morning I got a phone call from one of the parents of the kids that's in the tennis program. I sit on the board of the Pete Brown Junior Tennis Program, and it's an excellent program. And one of the little girls, her name is Demaria, very talented, but her mother had been talking to her about different business ideas. So her mom called me today and she says, I know, and this is interesting because I have other friends that never reach out to me and ask me, can you help me do X, Y, and Z? I help everybody else, but I've never not had people within my own inner circle that are close to me that I've known for years to do this. So she calls, she goes, I know that this is your area. And my daughter, she goes, the mom says, I talked to my daughter about business. We created a soap. It's called Simply Mari. And so she created a scent of her own. Her mom has a friend that's in Dubai that's a chemist. He put together the whole formula, and then he sent her the soap. And so she was saying, so now Mari made up her own logo, and she asked her what name she wanted. So she said, so now we want to sit down with you and create a business plan.
Wow, that's fabulous.
And Mari's like 8 or 9 years old. And so she's like, and she goes, and so we need your ideas. We need to, if you can help us make it a business, because this was a concept. I said, you done already gone 5 steps ahead of most people who have a concept. Right. You done actually got the product. You got a prototype. Mm-hmm. Some people never get to the prototype. Right.
Wow, that's amazing. That's beautiful.
Yeah, so
that's
I was like...
But you have to think about how many Maris are sitting in Compton or Watts with no access to Crystal, have never been outside of the 10-block radius, from their home to their school, that have those fabulous ideas, but yet don't know how to get to a resource that can help
them. They don't know how to get to a resource.
And that's why it's so critical that we not only give back to our youth, but we start to do things for women and men that are over that age youth program groups.
Right, exactly. And be able to create, those of you that are in corporate America, you're going to come out of corporate America. We're all young.
Transition,
And that transition. So how do we help prepare them to come to a place where they can have their second act?
Right.
And working for someone or in corporate America where all your resources are right there at your fingertip is not the same as running your own business.
It sure isn't. I mean, but I tell people all the time, there's information that I have that I learned from being in corporate America and having access to people with different skills and dealing with them in teams and thinking through things with them and collaborating that I could help an entrepreneur with. But when I do that transition, there's so much that an entrepreneur knows about actually doing all the work yourself, or at least having to manage it all without, all this money behind you. I mean, for me, the corporations I've worked with, I have millions, if not billions of dollars behind me to run a program or do a process. And so now to have to do it on pennies or dollars.
Right, exactly.
So there's really so much synergy right then and there where we could be helping and supporting and talking through things together through some think tanks or masterminds. And I tell people all the time, this is not new. This is not new.
Oh,
Outside of our culture, they're doing it all the time. People say, oh, the Bella Network, that's a new concept. No, it's not.
No,
it's an old concept. I've been in organizations when I was in different parts of the country where this was old school. We just haven't figured it out.
We haven't figured it out. And cause we actually, as African-American people, and even Africans, even before we got to the American part, in Africa, that barter system was important, and that was how, if this village didn't have the tool to farm, this village did, but this village may have had the craft to do the harvest. So we worked together in order to create a cooperative, so that they could actually make both of create an economy for both villages. You were going to say something?
Well, I was just agreeing again with what you're saying, because sometimes when people are older, they're kind of to the side. The youth are important, but people at all these different levels of age and experience many times have ideas, and then sometimes they get frustrated because you kind of give up sometimes when you're out there by yourself. So it's so important. And the reason I'm so excited, when I met Muhammad 20 years ago, Muhammad Nasruddin, may he rest in peace, good man, he had a vision. And I remember Bill McButts would have these meetings, Barbara Lindsay and all of us, we'd come together every week, every Tuesday, I think it was, and we would sit there and we'd have these ideas and these plans. And to watch the RBD actually take off over the years, I was so excited to see it happen. And of course, Muhammad, he became ill as the program grew up. But the point I'm trying to make is that RBD can be that bridge, so to speak. Because if you can imagine an RBD, Recycling Black Dollars organization in every major city across the country, now we have the impetus and the structure where we can connect the dots.
Yeah. You know, I tell people that, you know, especially for an organization like that, the internet is so powerful because you could be here in LA and have the support of people in DC and New York and Dubai and
we don't know who's listening now.
Kenya, right? And so, but as African Americans, we have to understand that power. You know, you go to a Natalie Goucher's class and you see, oh my gosh, look at what all I could be doing with social media. But how many of us leverage it to the full extent, and then how many of us take advantage of the power of our likes, of our shares, of our being members and friending and joining? You know, we make it seem like it's cash or something, like it's actually, well, you need to pay me to give you a like, you know, whereas...
Right, exactly.
I'll give you an example. So we had a vice president that just recently retired. And one of his mentees sent out a message, hey, we need to like his new business. Overnight, this man had over 100,000 likes. Wow. You know?
Can I get that formula from you after the show?
But the thing is that people gave it willingly and just because. And they didn't know him. 100,000 people didn't know who this man was. But it was the mere fact that they knew the power of it for this organization, and we have to start doing that for our Black businesses.
Right.
And I'm gonna take it even closer to home. So for the Business Zone, we've been on. We launched in July, so we're at our 7th month, I think. I have been begging for likes for subscriptions on our YouTube channel. We have all of a mighty 57. And I don't care how I beg, I've walked people through it, cannot get them to go there. So now on my YouTube channel, it is free. Just hit the subscribe button. That's all you got to do. Hit the subscribe button. So every week when I upload the YouTube channel, you upload the video to the YouTube channel, you will get a notification so you can see the show if you couldn't catch it Friday afternoon.
So I just had a meeting with a friend, and she has 400,000.
Yeah.
400,000. She's only been in business a year and a half.
Yeah.
So now, what is she doing different? It's just a different way of thinking.
Thinking is a different
And so
way.
as African Americans, we have to stop thinking that we're hoarding
Right.
or that, you know, you have to earn my like. That's not how it works in social media.
No, you do. In fact, this morning on the news before I left, there was a little boy. He got in trouble for this, but he said, so he and his babysitter, they filled up something, the back of a plastic something, and they put these balls in the back of a pickup truck, and then they got in the trunk, and their friend was driving around, and they're slushing all around right here, whatever they're doing. Well, it was against the law for them to do that.
In the back of the truck.
In the back of the truck, and it was like, you know, when you jump in and go to Chuck E. Cheese, and they have the balls. So it was like that in this truck. And so the little boy, so the mom got in trouble and she has to pay a fine, and the little boy, they came, they arrested them. So the little boy, so they're like, so what do you think about that? He goes, well, we didn't know we were doing anything wrong, but we just wanted it to go viral. That's all we wanted it to do. So he said, so it went viral and all these police came to the house and the media's here. It's cool. Yeah. He's in trouble. But that's the concept, right?
Right. So it's like you have to do something stupid or illegal for people to like it. It has to be sex or something.
Right. I guess the show ain't
instead of it being a good business plan,
Right. The Business Zone ain't sexy enough for anybody to subscribe to it on a regular basis. It's like, okay, I don't get it. And then so many people, you know, with Facebook, you know, I get so many pushback. Oh, I don't do Facebook. Right. Why? do you have a business?
Right.
Well, yeah, but I don't want everybody to know. You don't want anybody to know about your business?
Right.
Because that's really what we're talking about. I'm not telling you to put your personal business on there.
Well, so when I started the Bella Network and I asked friends again to like, subscribe, their whole thing was, I don't want all that stuff on my page. But now they're starting their business and they're sending it wanting me to like. And I'm like, but I don't want all that. I mean, it's like, do you hear yourself?
Right, exactly.
You're cutting yourself short. And we as a community need to realize the power. Just like if we kept our dollars within our community, right now with the internet, it's about likes, it's about subscribers, it's about sharing, it's about commenting. And we have to start doing that for each other.
And you don't have to do business right here. You can do business globally. You can be in Africa. One of our shows, when we reached about 15,000 people in Africa on one of our shows that I boosted on Facebook. And when I thought that was unusual. But they were saying there are a lot of young African, and most of them were young, the millennials, they were the millennial age. And they told me that they go to schools here, they go to school in London, in Britain, and then they come back and now they're trying to figure out how to start businesses in their country.
Well, I tell you, I get a lot of interaction from Africa for the Bella Network.
Yeah,
I actually get more interaction from Africans for the Bella Network than I do people right here with access to me, or access to our organization on a personal basis.
Right.
And so, we have to really start checking ourselves.
We really have to check
and stop saying that someone else is holding us back and start thinking about what are we doing to contribute to that.
What is the action? And
Ladies,
Candace is
you're
right.
onto something. We should have a show that we focus on that subject because it's so important. You brought up an extremely important subject matter. And I think if we had a segment to focus on that, maybe create some type of I don't want to say a contest, but something where people can get involved and do that.
Oh, well, we actually could, because that's what. And then they do that with the ALS, the water challenge. They'll do that kind of stuff. I guess again, I tell you, I guess the business.
It's just educating people.
Yeah, we're not, right. Exactly.
Most people don't know, even if they start a small business. Someone has a small business. Usually, you don't know all these things, and you know your business. So that's why the Business Zone is so vitally important, and it's going to grow. Big.
But, the other thing that we as a community have to start doing is we have to start valuing other people's assessment of what we're doing. So we're so quick to say to someone, well, you don't understand my business. You watch the Shark Tank, and, I'm going to focus on African-American women. You see them come on there, and these are billionaires, millionaires, billionaires giving you their opinion that you're coming to wanting their money, but you're also going to get some of their expertise. And, you watch that show, and sometimes it's so frustrating because we will say, well, I don't need you. And yet you never hear about that business ever again.
Right, exactly.
And sometimes we need to really be willing to take someone else's expertise as valuable.
Right, exactly. And I know with friends of mine, when I hear that there's a business, when there's a new business that's opening up, then we all go and we support that business. For the first 3 months, give that business everything that they need. Tell everyone so that they can go support that business.
And give them some constructive feedback.
Right.
The business owner needs to be willing to accept the feedback, make whatever tweaks, because it's about making it something that the world would be willing to buy.
Right. And this is free. The internet is free. It doesn't take anything for you to go, I went into this new business, and Candace and Natalie have been giving much support to the popcorn. There's a new company.
Yes.
EJ's popcorners or something, and I haven't gotten to that. I haven't gone to visit them as of yet, but they've been giving them much love, and that's what it requires. When they opened Brian opened up the beauty supply up on Urban Essence up on Century, I sent everybody I knew, and then there's a Man Shave in Inglewood, so I went to there, and then I came back, and then I just put out the call. Go support those businesses.
Yeah. Well, so one of our Bella women is Seville, the Rumtini.
Wow.
And I tell people all the time, but, I had someone say to me, well, why would I support that? And what is it going to do for me? And we have to stop seeing it that way.
Yes.
Because what it will do for us is she's a black-run company.
Right.
She's hiring black people.
Right.
The people that are helping to bottle and to produce her product are blacks. This is out of Chicago.
Right.
And so you're helping a black family. And if we keep that 1.2 trillion, it's going to eventually help you. So we have to stop seeing it as immediate gratification.
Right, exactly.
And see it as a long-term, futuristic gratification for our whole community.
For the whole community. And that's the purpose. That was why the fraternities and sororities, they're supposed to be there to support each other for the rest of their lives in order to make sure that their sisters and brothers are coming up at the same time they're coming up. And that's our concept. Just bring up the other one. Just one bring up, one hold up the other one. There was that picture, that painting where the putting the hand down and pulling up the brother.
We are our brother and sisters keepers.
But the other thing too is we have to invest in ourselves.
Yes,
we can't expect everything to be a nonprofit and everything to be free, because when it's a nonprofit, that means that you are basing your ability to do something on a corporation or some functional group to give you that money instead of you earning it yourself. But then you also have to be willing to invest in yourself before you can ask somebody else to give you money for whatever job or role or whatever you play in that part, especially if you're an entrepreneur. If you're an entrepreneur and you're unwilling to pay someone else for their entrepreneur endeavors,
and you're going to turn around and ask them to buy it.
But you see that all the time.
Can I get a discount?
I know. Can I get a discount?
But aren't I in business too? And I'm going to help you.
Yeah.
And it's so funny. And you're right. It's the concept, and that's one of the things, the mindset we have to change. Last week when Snapchat went public. And so there was this school here in Los Angeles, a private school. The father actually sat on the board. And so when he saw his children just obsessed with Snapchat, he went back to the board and he said, we need to invest. We need to take money out of our fund and move $15,000 and purchase Snapchat because it's about to go public. He did his research and everything. So they made $24 million off of that money. Off of $15,000. So, the week before, you had the 100 presidents from the HBCUs go begging for money when 100 presidents, each one of you could have taken $10,000 and invested in Snapchat, and HBCUs would never need anybody else's money. Right? So it's just changing and thinking out of the box, and that's what we do as entrepreneurs.
But that's where those mastermind and think tanks come into play, because we have to get out of our current circle. So, to me, this is also a generational divide. So those HBCU presidents, they had a conversation within their generation of what they're used to and what they're comfortable with. Where were the millennials or other generations telling them, hey, look at what's going on? So it was, again, that father paying attention to his younger kids and what was happening. And he read that from a business perspective and made a business decision. And so we have to start thinking about that. I mean, just imagine, we especially women, we spend money on our purses, on our hair, and on our shoes. So how are we rallying behind companies that offer those services?
Exactly.
Instead of going to companies that don't look like us for those same services. I mean, how many times will you go into Macy's and pay $100 for a dress and not challenge it? But then you'll go into a black-owned business and say, what? Girl, this is way too expensive.
Exactly.
Yeah, we have to stop doing that.
And we have to support our businesses. And that's going to segue into my the next comment. A topic is on the innovation of women in business today. Because there's some amazing, when we, if we take the media industry right now and look at what some of our black, a lot of our African American directors and writers, last year it was so funny. Not in 2016, in 2015, when we weren't represented at the Grammys and at the Oscars, and then and they were saying, well, it was nothing with any content, right? I mean, they blew it out of the water in 2016. I mean, ABBA and all of them. I mean, they left nothing on the table because they wanted to make sure if you were going to say that this time, we're going to say what it really was behind it. But with fences and moonlight, and I mean, they blew it out the water.
They really, really did. But we supported them too.
We supported them.
And that's where it became critical, is that we showed up to the boxes.
We showed up, right? So if we can do that in the media industry, we are already doing that in the hair and beauty industry. So we just need to bring it so we can get that same, because that's not an educational process there, right? Because we're going to the beauty supply store and we're buying what we need to buy when we need to buy it. We don't even care who's behind the scenes of it, right?
Right.
So that's an easy one. That's a easy to do, is to help a group of hairstylists who have some business acumen to get to a position where they can own the building that they're doing their business in, and or buy a beauty supply industry, a store, and then be able to have their services and provide their services in their store.
But Crystal, one of the things that I say to women when I'm coaching and mentoring them is that you have to be willing to sacrifice. You can't just expect someone to hand you the loan to buy the building.
Oh, no, you
Where's
gotta do your
your
work.
sacrifice in saving money and having something to contribute, or spending the extra hour, the extra time to create that infrastructure so that you can do those things? But so many of us won't do the extra work or save the money or spend the time. We just want it now.
Oh yeah, and we've been living in an instant gratification, and so yeah, it takes time to run a business to do. And my business, over the 30 years I've been in business, it's evolved all kinds of places, but over the last 15 years, I've made sure I have very strategic partners to be able to take it to where it is and to get the recognition. And I make sure that at the beginning of every year, and I'm sure you do this because you're the type of business you're in, and I'm sure you do the same thing. I make sure that at the beginning of the year, I have a whole plan on what my year is going to look like. And so once I write it down, then the manifesting it is not difficult.
Right.
It's because I've written it down, I've thought it down, and this is what I want to do, and
that writing it down allows you to make better choices. You know when to say no because that doesn't align with your plan.
Right.
Doesn't align with your goal. Okay, I can't spend this money because I know at mid-year I have to spend money over here. So that whole planning allows you to do that. Yes.
Right, exactly. And so then for businesses that just fell into business, and you've been in the real estate industry, so you know kind of how it works. If you're going to buy a house, you plan for it, right? You just don't wake up one morning and say, okay, I'm going to buy a house. And then you go there and like, oh, you want a down payment? Oh, I got to have credit? No, that requires some planning for that to take place. And business is the exact same thing. It takes planning, it takes saving. You can do some things that will cost you less if you think it through.
And you may have to phase it.
And you may have to phase it.
You get a business card, but you don't have a banner. And
right,
when
exactly.
you get some more money, you get the banner before you get the sign.
Right. And nowadays with the internet, you can do your whole thing digitally, and it all works. You don't even have to set up your own e-commerce site. You got Spotify and all those sites and Etsy that are already there. You just have to plug your products in.
Right. But you said something really critical, which is about change.
Yeah.
I mean, how many people go into business and say, oh no, my passion is, I want to be a jewelry designer.
Right.
But then they only design jewelry that they like.
Right.
Nobody else likes it, just them.
Just them.
And then they are frustrated and just give up the fact that they're good at what they do. They just have to make what somebody else wants to see.
Right.
Or maybe instead of jewelry, now they need to do belts.
Right.
Or, do some other kind of accessory because that's what people are buying now. And so it's that willingness and that flexibility and the openness to be able to change.
And that's the business plan. That's why you have a plan, because it helps you see things through. And Candace says, oh my God, little by little. Because they took Candace. Candace knows Candace has a boutique in Culver City called All That and All That and More.
All That and More.
All That and More.
forget Nordstrom's. I'm not even going there
Yeah,
anymore.
I saw you in Candace's spot last week. You and Deshaun twirling in y'all's dresses, and you having a major conversation. I saw it, and she actually Natalie kind of schooled her, and she took Natalie and coaching from Natalie in order to find out what was the best, most impactful way to do social media for her boutique.
And now Natalie doesn't have a boutique. And so there again, she took coaching from somebody that wasn't even a part of her industry. And how that added to the value of what she delivers. And so that's why I say to people all the time, you don't have to have a coach or someone who's directly associated with what you're doing. You just need to find somebody who has some skill set that you need to leverage.
Exactly. I mean, I've written many business plans for people that I wrote a business plan for someone in the real estate industry. And when I got done, they were like, how do you know so much about our industry? Because I researched. And so they were like, I didn't know that. And I did a business plan for someone going into mortuary services. And when I got done, she was like, I had no idea, and I've been in this industry for 20 years.
Yeah.
I knew nothing. I mean, at least the real estate. I have a sister that sells real estate, but the mortuary industry, I knew nothing about that industry. But it's the research.
But you bring up a critical point, which a lot of people won't do that. You need to know the research about your industry, and then who your competition and what they're doing. And you got to stay on top of that. And how many people will invest that time to do that kind of research? And you can't just do it once.
Right, it can't. Candace just said, Natalie Goucher, if you're still on the call, you are the bomb.com.
She is.
So yeah, Natalie is awesome in that in her area, in her wheel space. She is awesome.
But you want to know what's even more awesome is that when I go and meet people that are a part of her classes, they're awesome.
Yeah.
And you get to see some people that are really absorbing what they need to absorb and then applying it and being driven and determined by it, and then how quickly they will share in those groups. And so that's what's awesome. That's why it's so important for women to invest in themselves and spend that money, spend the day. You know, I know it's going to be away from your family, especially if you're like me and you have a corporate career, and now to go spend a whole Saturday in a class.
Right, exactly.
But those are the things that help to elevate people to the next level in their business or in their career. You got to retool yourself.
You have to retool yourself. And it's really, really important, because even there, when I do a workshop or a class, and I'm sure maybe when you're doing in the real estate industry or property management, that's my networking base, right? Because these people understand we have one common thread, is that we have either a business together or we're in marketing or PR or something. That's our common thread. So now I just got another room full of people that I can network with, and then you can take that away. And those are potential customers if you have a business.
Well, I tell people wherever you're sitting, you should be networking. I do property management too, but it's our own property, and I had an eviction. And so I was sitting waiting during the process, for the eviction process. And I started talking to this guy, just open conversation. By the end of the conversation with him, I had so many notes and I had learned so many things that I could apply. And,
you can come to my class if you want.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, how many of us would have just sat there tweeting or on our phone and not taking advantage of the networking, no matter where you are, whoever you're sitting next to? You never know who's sitting next to you.
You absolutely don't.
And I tell people, when you go to a networking event, many, many times the most important person in the room for you is not the person at the podium or on the panel. It may be the person sitting 2 rows back or sitting right next to you. And if you don't spend the time to find out who else is in the room, you may lose out on an opportunity because you're so focused on trying to get the card for the person that's already at the peak of their career on the panel.
Right, and everybody's crowded around that person on the panel, so you don't get that at all. But me, networking has always been paramount in my business, and now, and when I go to events, so now I have a purpose, right? So either I'm looking for someone for the show, or I'm looking for someone that I can have a speaking opportunity with, or to redirect them to the Bella Network or to the tennis program or to Recycling Black Dollars. So I have an agenda.
So you're a true Bella woman.
I'm a true Bella woman. That's why it was just like, whoa, okay.
I'm gonna get my wife in it on this.
Yeah, you bring your wife into the Bella Network. So this weekend when you did the conference that you had, it was in. Because I thought about it, it's for March, so that was for
Women's Month. Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
all righty. I was doing the pajama with Pearl, so I couldn't be there. But I love the picture. 50, 60 women. So what did you guys cover?
So we talked about 3 different things. We talked about what a Bella woman is, so that we really helped to define that for women, because we've had so many women excited about the organization and wanting to be a part of it. So we talked about that. We talked about our membership program and what that takes and what it looks like in order to be a part of the full-blooded membership, and we have a basic membership and a VIP membership. And then we talked about how to collaborate strategically, which included that whole concept of finding a partner, how to find a partner, and the importance of when you interact with somebody, there is some kind of synergy. Yes. So we broke them up into 3 people and they had to find someone they didn't know. And they had to find a synergy within the group, and every single group found one. And it was amazing. And so many of the conversation went about, oh my gosh, I would never, without having those focused questions on doing that, we never would have pulled that out of each other on how we could help each other. And then the last session was about the biggest mistake we make, and most of us make it every single day. And if you want to know what it is, you're going to have to come to a Bella event.
Oh, there you go.
So we're going to keep it a secret, but the women who left, they know how to avoid it.
They know how to avoid it.
Now, is this gender... Does it cross genders, this information?
Oh, yeah. That biggest mistake is done by everybody.
After the show, I'd like to get that information, please.
So you're going to have to send your wife to the Bella Network, and then she can come back.
She'll come back and tell you.
She'll come back and tell you what it is. So we're going to take a quick break. Before we do that, can you tell them how they can connect with the Bella Network?
Sure. So the Bella Network is at www.thebellanetwork.com. That's THE. Bella, BELLA, network.com, or you can look us up on Facebook by typing in the Bella Network. We have a private group if you'd like to join that with us, as well as our Facebook page. We're on Instagram. We're on Twitter. We're Network Bella.
Okay, so we're going to take a couple minute break, and then we'll be back.
Hello, meet Larry. Larry is a general contractor. Larry is very good at his craft, but Larry has a very tough time managing his paperwork because he is busy taking care of his clients' needs. Larry just cannot find his important business documents when needed. Larry is also being passed over for bid opportunities from prime contractors because he is perceived as not ready. He doesn't know where his business license, certifications, insurance, and other key corporate documents are located most of the time. Lucy owns an auto body and collision repair shop.